Hey guys, Weep here. Welcome back to another video by Variety MMOs. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Summoner class guide in Sword of Legends Online. So the Sword of Legends version of Summoner has a DPS mode, it has a Summoner mode, and it also has a Healer mode with summons. So first off, we're going to look at the default recommended damage type of not using the summon. So this is the build that I used when leveling up. Unfortunately, when leveling Summoner, until you get Meteor Explosion, it feels a little underwhelming. And I say this as somebody who's leveled all 6 classes, it felt kind of slow. But once you get Meteor, the class really feels like it's starting to take off. So the basic rotation for the summon is actually extremely easy. So you have your Racing Firehound, and what this does is it gives you stacks, excess stacks. Once you have 15 excess stats, you will get the ability to use an extra bright light excess. You now have this debuff on him. Now he has this debuff, you click E, which is your flame curse, and you make it explode. So use R again, use E again to make it explode. And then you keep using Q to bring up your mana in between. While you're bringing your Soul Force back up, you're getting back up to 15 to reactivate Bright really early, put the buff up, E, make it explode. So that is the extreme super basic rotation for the Summoner. Now this is where you start adding other things in. So for the monsters in Sword of Legends Online, they have a stun bar, I guess you would call it, and they usually have a yellow bar. Unfortunately, this doesn't have it. But when you use abilities like Sunset here, when you stun the enemy, it reduces their golden shell, which is their stun bar. And once their stun bar gets low and drops, they fall over. And when they fall over, certain abilities start doing a lot more damage. For example, this ability here, Nua's Dance. So it does almost no damage. But if you hit it when they're staggered, it does a tremendous amount of damage. And it also shows a special animation. See there, it was completely worthless because it wasn't considered 0 golden shell. Okay, so this is your kind of like ultimate thing you only use when they're knocked down, and you have these 3 skills here as your combo. Then you have your Sunset, which knocks things down, which you'll regularly use to, bring down the shell and knock them down. Up next, we have Morning Fire Curse, so basically it interrupts, like every other game. However, it is important to know that if you interrupt an enemy while it's casting, it'll actually drop their stun bar by quite a bit, so it's actually a huge advantage to do that. Okay, so next up we have Meteor Explosion. So Meteor Explosion can be used a couple of different ways. So depending on how you set this up, you can actually change your ability bars quite drastically. However, on this, so the one that I'm currently using, it regenerates speed, Soul Force regeneration speeds increased by 40% during Meteor Explosion. You receive 2 excessive light stacks upon successful completion. So what this means is that when you're using it, you get more of these stacks here. So you'll be able to use more bright lights. That's what's going on there. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can change it out to this one, which gives Meteor Explosion 2 charges. So instead of blowing your load on one enemy and have to wait so long for your Meteor to come back, you have 2 charges, which means you can use it on more mobs. Generally, I favor this more in leveling because instead of blowing everything on one enemy and then having to wait an entire minute to do it again, I can kind of do it every 30 seconds, which allows me to chain mob and kill things faster. Okay, so with the Meteor Explosion, what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to use my Bright Light and my Flame Curse much more often. So let's hit G. Put the buff on him. Knock the buff off. Put the buff on him. Knock the buff off. And as you can see, my Soul Force is regenerating because of the Meteor Explosion. Now, I can't do it as quickly as you would probably be able to because I have high ping. But with low ping, you would be weaving those abilities in much faster in between each other, and including stuns and stuff like that. So you also have some other abilities here that are changed by the runes. So when you take off, I believe it's one of these runes here. No, it's down here, the glyphs. Don't worry about these for now. You'll check them out when you're at endgame. So the glyph's actually going to change it to a beaver. So I'm able to summon a beaver, which will attack. You can summon 3 at a time, and when you do, it takes up your slots. Now I'm going to use Golden Feather, and that to speed up. As you can see, it's now putting stacks on it, which I can then use. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to combine with that, get your stacks, and then explode. And it does all your damage. You can change this so you do more damage to enemies when they're low, under 50 HP, which is actually quite helpful when it comes to leveling. So definitely play around with your Astral Blessings, because they can make some pretty big changes in your build by just changing one blessing. Okay, so now that you've got a vague understanding of how the pets work, when you summon the pet, the bar runs out, and when it runs out, you're able to use Blossom's Twinkle, which will actually get rid of the cooldown so you can use it again immediately. So you can kind of spam it a little bit. Okay, so next up we have Phoenix Strike. So what Phoenix Strike is going to do is when you break a seal, so when you click R, you put a seal on it, and when you click E, you break the seal. Whenever you break a seal, it's going to detonate, which is going to do more damage. So now we're going to put the seal on them. Now we're going to click G to get a summoner, put the seal, explode the seal. And as you can see, I'm now doing 4,000 damage, 5,000 damage, because every time I break the seal, the Phoenix is exploding and doing a tremendous amount of damage. This is also enhanced by the talents that I have on right now. It's all focused around increasing the amount of damage I do when I break a seal, which is basically R and E on repeat. So that is the basic rotation. So there are other abilities you can throw in there and whatnot, but that is the basic rotation of the DPS class for the Summoner. Now, if you change over one rune and go to the Eastern Sun, it'll actually summon a different pet. So now here you have Muishi. So now Muishi is going to go in and attack when you tell it to go. You also have Companions. You can tell it to go in. It'll now rush. You now have these new abilities. It commands your spirit. So this is what you can tell it to go and attack and stuff like that. And here you can command your spirit to use Paranorma. So basically you're having it to use a skill. So now it's basically Q, E, R, got your seal, break the seal. So it's the same seal rotation as before, except that it's Q, E, R as it was before, but now you're having your pet do it. You can also do some other things like make Muishi go into melee mode, but that's much more sophisticated stuff, and you're not going to find that out until later on in the game. And that's kind of min-maxing, so that's kind of on you to figure out. So let's have a look at the default healing for the Summoner. So again, you can change your Astral Blessings and add in more glyphs and whatnot, and it'll drastically change your gameplay. So you need to really... I would recommend using this build first, and then after you've gotten used to it, then start changing your blessings around so you understand the basics, and then you can kind of min-max as you go. So this is going to be completely focused on healing, and it's not going to be focused on buffing or anything like that at all. So first up, you're going to click on a target, and you can do damage. And you can also do damage here. So when you're not clicked on a target, for example, if you clicked on yourself, you can put heals on yourself. So as you can see here, I now have a heal buff. And it's located up here. Healing Light continuously restores HP. The regeneration interval is reduced according to your haste. So haste is good. So that's basically how you heal the average person. So next up, you have Heal E, which is Healing Mist. You bestow the Healing Mist buff on the target. So here you go. Here's another buff. So as you can see, this buff is kind of sticking around, right? So what you're able to do is you're able to select, say, 6 members at once. So you'll have a box, and you can click 6 different people and put E on them. And then E is slowly regenerating all their HP. So then what you do is you then click R. And what R does is it uses Healing Mist on nearby allies so that 70% of the healing effect takes instant effect. So it instantly it uses this up instantly and heals all those people that have the marker on them. So everybody who has the Healing Mist tag on them will instantly receive 70% of how much that mark should have healed them instantly. This is a good way of getting your dungeon up pretty quick. However, it does take a bit of forethought. If you try doing it after the raid takes a lot of damage, you're kind of in trouble. So this is kind of like, single or, prior knowledge healing. So next up we have T, which just basically reduces your damage, whenever you get stuck or whatever else. Next up we have F. So this is going to heal everybody who comes in close. And it also damage is taken is reduced by 5% and shields regenerate by 70 points. So anybody inside this is going to heal, and this would be your AoE heal alongside your E-stacking, and your R-clicking. Okay, so next up we have Floral Cloak. So you're basically just going to click on the tank and click this. And now I've got stats on there. And now you can heal, stuff like that. So it basically reduces damage they take. You just want to make sure you use it on the tank. Actually, that's the one I wanted to use. There we go. So it reduces damage. So now we have Shift E. Grants the target the vortex buff for 5 seconds, reducing the damage taken by 8%. So basically another one that you use alongside your Floral Cloak to reduce the damage on the tank. Down here we have Days End Flower. This is really good because you're able to heal the mana of yourself and your allies. So if you run out of mana, you can instantly use this. It's only a 1 minute cooldown. So honestly, the first time you go down half mana, I'd instantly use it to regenerate. Okay, so here we have Tiger. So basically it's used on, I believe, enemies when they're knocked down. Here we have Blazing Sun. What this will do is it'll heal everybody. So let's give it a go. Alright, so that should be healing everybody around me. Okay, next up, we have Oral Scent. So this basically removes debuffs. So you kind of want to put this with your tank focusing abilities. Returning Sunset. So this way it'll knock away anyone that gets in too close. It's like a damaging ability. Spirit Dove, it allows you to jump back. So you can use this in conjunction with Sky Mending to immune yourself, jump back, and use Scent to get rid of anything bad on you. Okay, so next up, let's summon the ad. So here is your healing ad. So what this healing ad is able to do is it's able to heal a particular person. So let's click on me. And then let's heal. Actually, it doesn't appear that I can. So by setting this guy on your tank, he'll just sit there and kind of heal the tank. Just kind of like passive healing. And you also have an ability which I can't quite seem to locate. What it does, here it is, it's Breeze. So when your pet is actually on another person, so maybe I can do it here. So you would actually be able to use Breeze to increase the healing that your pet does by 40% for 10 seconds. Basically, you got to use it on the tank or an ad that you don't want to focus on for a second while you heal the rest of the raid. So that is pretty much the basics of the healing class. Of course, you have other stuff like Elixirs, and then you have your stats in the middle and all the other stuff that you can add on top through the Astral Blessings. But this is the very basics when it comes to healing. Basically, regenerate multiple people, use the regeneration, and a couple of AoEs, and then your pet healing. So it's really straightforward, and anybody should be able to understand it. So that covers the 2.5 types of content that you should expect when playing the Summoner class. It's rather straightforward, easy, damage is okay, healing is okay. Healing's not really upfront, it's kind of like a little more AoE and kind of regen-y, so it's not really an instant tank healer, so you probably want to team it up with a different class rather than taking 2 Summoners. Anyway, that covers everything for the Summoner's Guide. Hopefully this helps you leveling and getting into your beginner's content in Sword of Legend. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.